Hey everybody, thank you for joining me. My name is Damien Brady and I am a developer advocate at GitHub, which means I get to learn about some of the awesome features that GitHub is releasing, and I get to teach all of you how to use it. Now, one of the most exciting features that I've heard and had a chance to play with a lot actually at GitHub is issues and projects. So projects was basically written again from scratch to solve a lot of needs. And we're going to look at managing those projects. So tracking your work through your projects using GitHub Issues and projects vNext is what we kind of call it in the behind the scenes. So let's get started. So the first thing we're going to talk about today is just an introduction to what GitHub Issues is and the project's views and all of that project's planning and tracking capability. I'm going to show you a demo because I think that's the best way of showing you exactly how powerful this thing is and how customizable it is as well. And then we're going to have a little look at what stuff is coming soon. Now, one of the great things about this product is that the team is frankly prolific at releasing features that are fantastic. And I want to give a little shout out as well to Matt Butler, who's the PM or one of the PMs on the issues team, who was going to record this session, but sadly has COVID and is quite sick. So he should hopefully be recovered by the time this comes out. But I'm filling in and showing you his demos and the awesome stuff that he and his team have been putting together. All right, so let's talk about what GitHub Issues is. So essentially, in any project, any software project, we really need a way to plan our work. And traditionally, people have used external tools for this. They've used either another product for planning their work, or actually, in a lot of cases, they've just used a spreadsheet. There's kind of an internal joke. It's not really a joke that we have at GitHub, which is that the competitor to any good software product is a spreadsheet. And you no doubt are aware of plenty of companies who run their entire businesses off spreadsheets. I've certainly worked for a couple in the past as well. So we wanted to make sure that Issues is just as powerful and just as flexible as something like that, but gives you a lot more power when it comes to doing what you need to do as an organization. So we all need a way to plan the work, track concepts, and then talk about the stuff that we build. And increasingly, as everybody is remote and working from home and not co-located in offices as much anymore, we need a way to do this effectively without needing to be in that same room. So GitHub Issues and projects gives you a great way of doing that. Now, GitHub's issue tracking is really special because we focus on a number of small things which become really powerful when put together. We focus on simplicity, on speed, on references between items, both inside issues, so issue to issue, but of course across the whole GitHub ecosystem, and then some other cool things like elegant formatting and rich content in those issues as well. Now, when we were talking to our customers, we found that people wanted to use issues and wanted to track their work at a number of different levels. So, of course, they want to be able to shape and track an individual feature as it gets discussed and as it grows and as it changes as a feature, all the way through from idea to running in production. They want to also be able to plan and track multiple issues across a project, so or across a project or across a team. So manage all the work that's in progress for a product. But then they also want to be able to plan and track the work across multiple teams. So in an organization, there's likely to be a number of projects that are running, and people want to be able to see that information across the whole organization or enterprise. And in fact, people even want to track stuff that's not individually, not in individual projects, so universal jobs that need to be done. And quite often to meet all these aims, they hire or use project planning tools that are external from where all the code lives and where the developers are operating. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to enable these kinds of features, so being able to track everything from individual issues all the way through to team and project and organizational work using one really flexible tool. Now, it's kind of like origami. We believe that giving people a canvas and some powerful primitives and then letting them shape things the way that they want to shape gives them the most power, and they can really get something that they want from that same set of tools. Something that works specifically for that team. So again, a bit like origami, it's a single sheet of paper, it's a blank canvas, but depending on how you manipulate it and how you fold it, you can end up with a ton of different things. So Let's look at some of these primitives, some of these core ideas that we want to add to our planning and tracking that enable you to be really productive and really flexible with what you're going to do. So on top of the actual issue itself, of course, we have a number of primitives. We have these 5 primitives that we have today. There's project tables, custom fields, saved views, hierarchy and dependencies, and then charts and insights. And now all of these can be combined and manipulated in certain ways, basically to allow you to customize your work to how your team wants to view it and wants to work with it. I think the best way of demonstrating this is actually to show you what it looks like in practice. So I'm going to jump into a demo and I'm going to show you what this looks like. All right, so we are in the organization level here. So this is my Demo Visa Inc. Organization, and I'm looking at projects. We have projects beta and then the legacy projects, which is what you might be used to. So we're looking at the beta one, all new projects, and I'm going to start by creating a brand new project for a repository that I have some work on. All right, so let's do this. Let's click on new project and we'll choose a new project, a beta project. And I'm going to add a number of items, a number of tasks or issues, sorry, from the main repository that I'm working with. All right, so you'll notice that this looks a little bit like a spreadsheet, and that's by design. We know that people tend to use spreadsheets for this. So this is kind of our startup view. Now, I can add items from all of these different repositories that I've got access to, but I'm just going to choose my $1 billion startup one. And I'm going to actually just add a number of these. Now, the keyboard works really well with this as well. So I'm just hitting enter here and adding a bunch of these. So we have something to work with. And you can see right now I've got this spreadsheet. I can see some fields like assignees and status, which is not really set for anything. But this gives me a kind of a familiar view. I'm just going to call this, actually, let's call this table view. And I'm going to name this project $1 billion startup project. Right. So now we have this spreadsheet. So what we can do now is we can use these primitives to build out these custom views and see exactly what my team cares about. So one of the features is custom fields. So I can add a new field. I can obviously add any of the hidden ones to my grid here. So maybe I want the labels as well. And so we can see those labels appear, but I'm going to add some custom ones as well. So let's add a new field and I'm going to call this estimate. And this is going to be a number. So we can see we have types for these custom fields too. Now these are attached to this project rather than to the issue specifically, but it kind of works out the same way. This is the estimate for this issue for this project. So let's add estimate. We're going to add priority as well. So let's add a new field. And I'm going to do priority, and I'm going to do this as a single select, which means I'm going to give people options here. So let's do a urgent. So let's do fire. I'm going to do a high. So up. There we go. High priority. We'll do a medium priority, so that can be a nice road, medium, not road, and then we'll do a low priority as well. So let's do the opposite stuff. Oh, low. All right, so these are our options for priority. So we can see we've really customized this. We've got our drop downs for priority we can add here. I'm going to add one more as well. Now this one is a special type of field. And this is our iteration field. So I'm just going to call this iteration. And the type here is iteration. Now, what we found is people in development teams seem to just operate as in these cycles or iterations, whether they call them sprints or iterations or milestones or something like that. Most teams work in an iterative fashion. So we can add an iteration field. It starts on the date of recording. And they last for 2 weeks. So what that'll do is it will create that field, but it will also pre-populate it with the next 3 iterations. So there's our current one and the next few here. So let's just resize that one. And let's fill in some of these details. So we'll make all of these to do, except for maybe our new feature is done, and then this one can be in progress. Oops. Okay. Now estimates, I'm just going to put some random numbers in here. A very big one there. That's just a bit more simple. And then our priorities. Let's say we've got some urgent ones, and then some high priorities, and then some medium ones and a couple of low ones. You can see here that I'm using the keyboard for most of this just because I find it faster, but I can also use the mouse. It's pretty handy. All right, let's give myself a little bit more room. And then our iterations as well. So let's do these first 4 as iteration 1. We'll do a couple with iteration 2, and then a couple with iteration 3. Yeah. Oh, I'm fat fingering these keys. Excellent. So there we go. Right out of this, we've got these custom fields. We've got a pretty workable table here, but maybe we want to do something nice like group it by priority. So I can hit the drop down and say group by these values. And now we can see all the urgent tasks, all the high tasks, medium tasks, low tasks. Or maybe I want to group it by iteration. So we can see what's in our iterations, 1, 2, and 3. So you can see how I can start to chain these concepts together to really fit how the team works. The iteration one is a really nice way of kind of doing some sprint planning as well. So this table is great for planning, but we know that different teams love, kind of a more traditional board way of operating. So we have a board view as well. This is more designed for tracking that work. And we can see right now we have a board view just by switching to that view here. And it's pivoting on the status. So we can see what's to do, in progress, and done. One of the really nice things is that we can just seamlessly switch these layouts. So I could switch back to table and we have that same data just kind of presented in a different way. So maybe I want to filter this down to say iteration is the current iteration. And so that'll show me my current sprint, all the stuff that's to do, in progress, and done, or my current iteration. So that might be really useful. Maybe I can change, maybe I want to change what fields are being shown as well. So right here, I want, let's say I don't necessarily need the priority here, but maybe I want to have, any linked pull requests, or maybe even the repository, just in case I have things from a number of different repositories as well. So we can see a really handy way of kind of customizing what's there. One thing I can also do is I can also pivot on something else. So my columns are currently status, but maybe I want to do it based on priority. So I can see my urgent, high, medium, and low tasks for this iteration. So really powerful what you can do here. All right, let's just, we'll switch that back to status. And this is kind of our sprint view, so our current iteration view. And this is the next concept I want to introduce, which really ties it all together. And that concept is views. So I have this board that I created before, and I have this table, but I don't want to have to edit what I'm looking at every time just to get back to these views. So we can save this as our current iteration. And I'll probably change this to current iteration. So let's just rename it. And then this will stay the same from there. Let's go back and do a table view as well. So we'll do a table view. We'll remove that filter. So let's just remove that filter. So we have all of the iterations. We're grouping by iteration. Let's not do that anymore. And so we have our kind of planning. Let's say we want to filter out anything that is anything that's done. So status done. So it's going to take out anything that's done just with that minus sign. And then maybe we want to take out anything that's in the current sprint. So iteration current. So taking out anything that's in that current sprint. So this is kind of our planning board now. Now we're still in that same view, but rather than saving it, I can save changes to a new view. And now we get this planning table. So we've got these two views, a current iteration and a planning. So we've built up this kind of great way of working. Maybe I want another view which is similar to this, except it's just my work. So I could create a new view where the assignee is contained to me as well. There's a lot of power I can have with this as well. So really powerful tool to kind of get these concepts all together. I'm going to show you one more thing just to wrap up this demo, and that's the insights screen. So over here, this little picture of a graph, we can see that right out of the box, we get our burn up or cumulative flow diagram. Now, this is obviously not terribly interesting because we haven't really done any work here. We can just see this one data point of what's there. But this will show our progress as we go through this project as well. But I want something else. So I'm going to create a new chart, and I'm going to create this chart to show me what I want to see. And in this case, I'm really interested in understanding how much work the team's getting done for each iteration. So let's configure this. I'm going to choose a bar chart in this case. And then my x-axis here is going to be the iteration rather than the status, I think it was. So there's my iterations you can see on each row. And then I'm going to just do a count. Well, it's just a count of the items at the moment, so we can see how many are in each iteration. But that's not really what I want. What I want is a sum of the estimate field. So if I save those changes now, you can see that in sprint 1, we've got a total estimate of 13, 12, and 6. I can even go a little bit further, and let's say I want to group them by priority. And now we can see we've got a breakdown of these different priorities for each iteration, and that can give me a lot of information that I can use to come back to the team. There's a lot of really powerful insights you can get out of this just by customizing these insights here. So that's really what I wanted to show you. There's a lot of power in this, and you can really customize things to match the way that your organization works. There's a couple more things that I didn't show you, and I'm just going to jump back to slides to walk through some of those ones and tell you a little bit more about what's coming and what the roadmap looks like. So one thing that I didn't really talk about was the idea of a hierarchy or relationships between these issues, and this is still very much under development. What we are going to release really soon is these new relationship types. So what this gives us is the ability to link issues in very defined ways, in hierarchical ways. So we want to add relationships like parent and child, depends on, blocked, duplicate, and things like that. So we can see what the relationship between these different issues is, and we can work on those ones. What that allows us to do is it kind of allows us to navigate that graph of work. So we can see, this issue is actually constructed of a number of different issues that we've broken it down, or, it's blocked by another issue. It'll give us the ability to navigate between these in sensible ways, to query on them, and even to look at how stories relate to the epics, relate to the initiatives, or whatever you want to name them in your organization as well. Now, you can see some parts of this if you've had a look at the task lists feature in Issues. This is a great way of breaking down work that you have defined in an issue into individual tasks. So you can see some of this work already being exposed, and that's super powerful. If you do a task list in an issue as well, you can also just click a button to create an issue out of a task. So this is just a list of checkboxes in an issue. Really powerful stuff, but we're making it more and more powerful as we go. The other thing I hadn't talked about really is automation. Now, I could have shown you that in there, but I want to talk about what's coming for automation. Right now, we have a couple of different things available. So some default ones, things like when an item is added to a project, set the status to something, whatever you want it to be. So it might be to do, or it might be triage or something like that. We're going to add to this to allow you to customize these automations yourself. So create automations that make sense for your project and for your organization. We want to integrate with GitHub Actions and even integrate with the marketplace as well to give you a lot more power and the ability to do things that we hadn't thought of. So automation is very much there, but we are doing more and more. And that'll come out soon. And on Insights, we want to extend this as well. We want to grow what Insights are doing. We're going to look at trends on repository data so you can see what's happening with your repository. We want to increase the number of chart types. We want to let you embed these charts in Markdown. So if you have, for example, a GitHub discussion, maybe you want to embed the cumulative flow diagram in that. So we'll unfurl that automatically in an issue or in a discussion or something like that. We also want to do custom report types. So other ways of creating reports that are combinations of graphs and combinations of information. So there is a lot in here. And as I said, the issues team is really prolific with the features that they're coming out with. We have a number of things in private betas and private alphas, and we're trialing all these things with real customers all the time, and people are finding fantastic success. As I speak, though, this is a fully featured product. You can absolutely start using Projects vNext or the beta version of Projects right now and use it very effectively. We use it across GitHub, and there are a huge number of organizations that use it to manage their day-to-day work, both for their projects and for their organizations. Now, if you want to learn more about issues, have a look at the GitHub docs, and this has a ton of information about all of the new stuff that we've created, as well as back to basics things about GitHub issues too. So check out the GitHub docs. And of course, if you have any questions about anything I've shown you or anything to do with issues at all, please don't hesitate to contact me. You can get hold of me, Damo Visa on Twitter and Damo Visa on GitHub as well. I hope you learned something, and I hope you do some really powerful things with GitHub issues in your own organization. Thanks.